Testing, testing, testing. How's my sound?
Hey, let me just log out real quick, Joe. I'm logged into the wrong Zoom account.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. It keeps logging me into my friend's account, which is weird as anything, but I guess we're fine.
Can you still use it?
No, I can still use it. It's just not going to say my name, but no biggie.
Ah, that's okay. I know your name. That's what matters.
Cool, cool,
No
cool.
worries, man. How you doing today? How was Thanksgiving?
It was great. How about yourself? I like the studio layout there, man.
Yeah, I'm actually here at my co-working space. I took one of the executive suites and converted it into a podcast studio.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, so Thanksgiving was cool. I hung out with my buddy's family. They kind of like kidnapped me and adopted me, and we played flag football at 9 a.m. and then went back to the house for beers and oysters, which was
Nice.
new and different. What about you?
We ended up going to my wife's family friends in the afternoon. In the morning, we had my parents over for breakfast. So it was kind of laid back, watched some football. It was good.
Yeah, cool, man. So awesome. Thanks for coming on here. And it's been a while. I think last we saw each other or met each other was at Podfest, right?
I'm trying to remember when we met. It was probably Podfest. It would in
Yeah,
February.
yeah, I think so. And anyway, you're doing pretty cool, man. Kicking
Working
ass.
on it, man.
You were on with JLD. That was exciting. That's probably one of my favorite podcasts, obviously for entrepreneurship. And
Yeah.
I did the free online podcast course and everything to kind of learn the basics of doing this whole thing. So, what about you? How'd you learn?
I took his course, and I also took the free podcast course. I also took a course from Andrew Farabee from Knowledge for Men,
Okay.
and that was pretty comprehensive. I got like a really good deal on Udemy and did it for like $10 back in the day.
Wow.
So that was pretty worth it.
Which one would you say was more impactful for you, like getting going?
Andrew's course was like it was a marked at 297. I had some sort of promo code. I got it for $10, so it like was pretty ridiculous. I learned so much stuff from that.
That's awesome, man. All right, cool. If you're ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, awesome. All right, so this show runs maybe 30 minutes. We could go a little longer if needed. If not, no big deal. We'll end at like 30 minutes, give or take. And the premise of the show is really just so that you and I are on the same page before we get into it,
Hmm.
just in case you haven't got to look at it, is really just 90% of entrepreneurs are wrestling to make their first 100K. That's
Hmm.
just the reality, right? But many of us at that stage, we act like we're not. We act like we're doing better than we are, right? And we put up these facades and everything like that. But that's the reality. And I think helping entrepreneurs get over that first 100K is a defining moment for them. Uh,
Mm.
right? It's psychologically, it's like, okay, I'm on to something. This is starting to work. I'm getting it. It's like stripes. You're earning your stripes. So that's really what we're standing for, is helping them to do that. If we could transform the lives of one of our amazing listeners today, then you and I, we serve the world.
Love
So
it, man. That's
yeah, that's
awesome.
really what I want to enroll you in. Cool. Any questions before we get going?
Two things. One is
Yeah,
is my sound okay for you?
it sounds excellent.
Okay, great. Other thing is, what's kind of the biggest thing I can do here today that's going to really benefit your audience?
I would say biggest thing you could do is to get real, to get vulnerable, to get raw.
Hmm.
Um, it's human nature for us to either try to look good or to avoid looking bad. And I think people really connect when we can just show our brokenness and show our struggles, or like, hey, you know what? Things are working out for me, but here's what I'm struggling with right now. Like in
Hmm.
my head, like here's the conversation in my head. And that people can connect and go, oh shit, I'm not alone, man. It's like Jeremy struggles with that. It's okay.
Hmm. Cool.
Do you
Awesome,
get
man.
that?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome, man. All right, let's get into it.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to First 100K, the show where I interview successful entrepreneurs about how they made their first $100,000, digging deep to find the tools, tactics, and superpowers that you can use to go from A to 100K. I'm your host, your coach, your friend, Joseph Warren. I'm also the owner of 2 co-working spaces here in Tampa, Florida, where I have the privilege of helping hundreds of entrepreneurs to start, launch, and grow their businesses. Today, our featured guest is fearless entrepreneur Jeremy Slate. Now, Jeremy is the guy that he's a bootstrapper. I could just tell he's a hustler. He does whatever it takes for as long as it takes to create the life that he wants. And specifically, how does he earn his money? He helps entrepreneurs appear on top-rated podcasts with his company, Command Your Brand Media. So, Jeremy, I just want to welcome you to the show. Fill in any gaps that I left out in that intro there, buddy.
Absolutely, Joe. Well, thanks for having me, man. So I've been a podcaster for a few years now. I've done 300 and something interviews at this point, and I got to tell you, it wasn't always easy. It was a transition from being, I had a master's degree in ancient history and being a high school teacher to 4 years of just trying to like make things work and figure out where I could add value to finally hitting it off last year with starting a podcast booking company. And you know, it wasn't always pretty, but it's become amazing in the last year. And I've been married for a couple years now, very happy, and we have 2 dogs and a pig. So I'm a happy guy, man.
I like how you just nonchalantly throw in a pig, right?
Hey, he lays on the couch at night, man. It's beautiful.
Oh my gosh. I have a friend. She literally just said yesterday, I want a pig. And I'm like, what is this whole pig trend going around? All right. So listen. So Jeremy, let's get into it. Take a minute and share with us something about you personally that very few people in your business life know about you.
It's funny. So this is going to be a little bit weird, but I'm like a total nerd. And most people that know me in the business space know me as like this, you know, podcaster and this big muscly guy. You know, I'm 5'7", like 160 pounds, but I took Latin for 12 years. I have my master's in ancient history and I studied literature at Oxford, go figure. So most people meet me, they see that I'm the kind of this really built guy. And I think there's a lot of assumptions that get made a lot of times, like
Sure.
about those of us that are built. And so that's kind of the thing, man. I used to sit when I actually managed a gym and read Wikipedia articles for hours. So it's just kind of like I'm just a total nerd on different things, and it's just something people don't really realize about me.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What do you think? Where do you think that fascination comes from? Like that need for knowledge.
I like to know how things work, and I like to know like how things are created because I feel like when you have that grasp and that ability to really take something, you can actually build bigger concepts off of it. And if you look at people, like let's look at like Peyton Manning, right? Why was Peyton Manning so good? Because he was the guy that watched film more than anybody else. A lot of these guys that really do well in their business, they're self-educated and they really have a desire to learn and to know and to be the best at it. And for me, having a grasp of the world around me and the different concepts around me are really going to give me a better chance to not only be enriched as a person, but perform at a higher level just because I just feel that knowledge in that case is very much power.
I get that. You know, so right there, you're like dropping like these wisdom nuggets right there, you know, right out the gate. And it's listen, you know, for our audience out there, you know, what is that one thing that really makes you stand out from everybody else? Like, what's that thing you do when no one's looking? You know, for Jeremy, it's filling his head with, you know, knowledge and things that really motivate him, inspire him, challenge his intellect. For others, like Peyton Manning, right, is watching videos and watching, okay, where did I go wrong on here? What could I have done better? How's my competitor doing it? You know,
Peyton actually had a film room put in his house.
Shut
and
up.
In the off season, the guy would watch film for like 6 hours a day so that he could see everything the competition was doing and kind of find every little tweak. It's just, that's a guy, if you want to study success and see how to be the best at it, it's just incredible.
You know what I love about that, Jeremy, is because right there, Peyton Manning, he had a different lens that he was watching the game from when he was out on the field.
Yeah.
Right? And it was an unfair advantage against everybody else, hence the success. Really well done. All right, let's get down to business. Our audience loves to know, how much revenue did you bring in last year? Are you with me? It looks like a video froze up. There you are. Okay, gotcha.
You got me back? Okay, that was really
weird. Did you
weird.
get the question?
Yeah, I heard you. So
I thought you got so polarized by the question that like you like pause.
No, it's on like I'm on 5G, which is weird. So it's odd that it froze. But anyway,
I'm on 6G.
Oh, yeah, you got me there, man.
Trump you, man, but we're going fast here, bro.
Well, it's so previously last year, before we started doing Command Your Brand, I was in a company called Get Featured, and I actually ended up separating with a business partner. But we did last year about $102,000 in the 9 months that we worked together on that project. So
Gotcha.
Between that and everything else we did, total revenue, we probably did about 140. Now that's not bring home. There's paying everybody else and whatnot, but that's what we did in revenue.
Yeah, that's gross. Excellent. Now, how long you been going with Command Your Brand? Because this is a brand new startup for you, right?
Yeah, it's about 2 months now because we
Two
just
months.
kind of
Okay.
we just I don't want to get too much into it, but we just kind of reached a point where my former partner and I had different visions on where we wanted things to go. So Command Your Brand kind of reached off of that after we shut down everything would get featured, and we're still doing the same thing over here, still the same team, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, gotcha. So it's, if I could just paraphrase here, all right, it's almost Command Your Brand is like an extension of the previous one, but you just switch the branding on it. Is that fair?
Exactly, it's the exact
Okay,
same
gotcha.
business with a new name and new emails.
Okay, gotcha. So you're at a 120, 140,000 somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Okay, awesome, man. All right, cool. And what are you on track to gross this year? What's that goal?
this year we want to break 200. So I think with
That's fair.
everything we got from EO Fire and a bunch of other stuff, we got some amazing leads toward the end of the year. I really feel like we can be pretty close to doing that. But a lot, it's interesting because we've gotten most of our business through referral and through just podcasting. It hasn't been from many other sources. It's been being on shows, driving traffic to sites, and that's about it.
And you know what I like about that, Jeremy, is that you're literally being your own case study,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like your whole Command Your Brand is about helping entrepreneurs to appear on top rated podcasts in order to expand their reach and their influence and their platform. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what you're doing with your own brand itself. Is that fair?
That's fair, and the thing is too, there's like a tech to that too, because there's the way that you show up as a guest and the way that you get people to your opt-ins and stuff like that. That you can even get even more out of that. You know what I mean? It's not
Mm.
just that one appearance and a couple people say hello. There's totally like showing up to serve an audience, which is really important, and then how you communicate with them after. So it is really interesting what the podcasting space allows us to do in that way.
Yeah, I like that. All right, cool. So listen, we all love to hear and listen to the wisdom of multimillionaires and billionaires, right? Because it's like tantalizing on our ears, right?
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
ooh, I want to be there. I want to get there. But we struggle to relate to them because it's so foreign, it's so far away, they're like so high up and we're down here and we're
Hmm.
struggling, right? 90% of entrepreneurs are struggling to make their first $100,000. So take us back to when you were struggling to make your first 100K and paint us a vivid picture. Take us to that place and tell us that story.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe. There's probably about three, almost 4 years of trying to do that, and you know what? The biggest problem I realized, man, is I'm the problem. Like the biggest
Hmm.
thing I realized is I tried to be, chief cook and bottle washer and do everything, and you can't do that.
But
And it's
that's what society tells us. Society tells us that's what you have to do the first year in business.
But that's
How
not
do you counter
true
that?
because the thing is, if you know what I mean, if I do all the sales and don't hire a salesperson, how's that going to work? If I'm in this case bookings, if I'm doing all the bookings myself, it's never going to get done. So it's kind of like you have to be able to and be okay with enabling other people to do a better job than you would do. And for me, that's what crushed me for like 3 years, man. Like thinking I had to do everything, thinking I wanted to stay small, thinking, my first business was a personal training business. And my biggest thing with that business is I had figured out that I could make $100,000 if I saw 6 clients a month and certain days a week. Well, that's a very, very small business, and you know what I mean. So
It's
it's
a
really,
lifestyle business.
yeah, and it's kind of like realizing like it may be cool, but something like that is going to be very unpredictable, very hard to manage, and where are your clients going to be coming from then? Those forever. So there's way too much to do as a solopreneur if you ever want to grow anything large. And I've heard Gary Vee talk about this before, the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner. Like a business owner may be great with one location or whatever it may be, but an entrepreneur enables other people so that they can actually grow a team and grow something large.
Yeah, I love that. And, describe to us your biggest fail, right? Before making that first 100K.
Hmm.
Like, describe that. What was going on there? What was going on inside your head, right? Because that's normally where fails begin, right?
Yeah.
It's in our head. Tell us
Hmm.
about that.
Well, for me, it was just complete like lack of knowingness. Like I had no idea what I was doing. So in 2013, um, my first jump into business was actually network marketing when I had a full-time teaching job. So, go figure. So I see this presentation and I didn't know what it was, first of all, because I had never seen anything like that before. I see this presentation. I'm like, dude, I'll make like 100 grand like tomorrow. This is gonna be great. I just got to get three friends.
Tomorrow.
I got to get 3 friends that get 3 friends that get 3 friends and it's over. Needless to say, I'll never do that again. But I saw this presentation.
Are you there? Video. Come on, video. Got a little freeze up there. Let's get Jeremy back. If you're listening right now, we got Jeremy Slate on the line here on this podcast, on the show. And Jeremy is an entrepreneur that helps other entrepreneurs to appear on top rated podcasts with his company called Command Your Brand Media. And what's really cool is like I just heard Jeremy appear as a guest on Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas. So Jeremy is literally walking the talk, and he is living exactly what he's preaching. And to me, that's like the coolest thing ever, right? Because it's easy to say, hey, here's what you should do, here's what you should do, but then not do it yourself, right? We call that a hypocrite. I've done that myself. However, I stopped doing it and I started to do the work. And I started to do the pain and to take it on and to hustle and do whatever it takes to get where I needed to go. So Jeremy was on with us. It looks like we're having technical difficulties. Somehow he got dropped with his 5G. I think he's somewhere else on the planet. We're doing via Zoom here, so unfortunately, I'll get him back on the line. In the meantime, I'm going to let's get him back on the line real quick. Here we go. Boom. Okay, so Jeremy is back with us. We had an act of God situation where the internet went down all around him. So I don't know what kind of life choices you're making over there, Jeremy, where that would happen, but such is life. Okay, so my question again, Jeremy, is describe your biggest fail before you made your first 100K. Like what was going on in the head that caused the fail? What was the fail, etc.?
It's funny because I feel like my first getting into business, though I'd been personal training for a number of years, my first getting into business for myself was my biggest failure. I saw a network marketing video and I'm like, dude, that's awesome. How do you get that job? So I got that job, which I found out was not what I thought it was. And I thought I was going to make like $1 million by the end of the year, or maybe $100,000 that month. So I was teaching high school at that point in time. So I called my boss and I'm like, I've got a great opportunity. I'm quitting. So I quit my job in June of 2013 to go full time into network marketing, and proceeded to make $0 my first month. That was quite interesting. And then from there, I actually made a decent amount of money. I was making a couple $1,000 a month, but it was not that I was making huge amounts of money teaching, because I was teaching in private school, but it was nothing like what I was making. And it's crazy, man, because you got to be a life coach for all these people to keep them engaged, and you got to keep like convincing people to join you. And eventually,
if I could jump in here, what was going on in your head at that moment? Because I know many people in my audience right now, right, in the startup nation here, they literally go out and they do these leaps of faith, like you did, right? And then they're struggling to make their first 100K, but some of them are in the coaching space, consulting space, coaching and consulting others on how to make more money in their businesses, how to better market themselves, but not actually living it themselves. So like, what's that wrestle in your mind? Like, is there like this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm a fraud? Like what's going on in your head at that moment?
Well, it's tough too, because like, especially like in network marketing, especially like you're selling the opportunity. So you have to make everything look like it's great. It's awesome. Like everybody wants to join me. And just, I don't know, like eventually you don't feel like a person anymore. You know what I mean? You feel like,
how do you mean?
You feel like you're one big sales pitch, man. Like everything has to look perfect. And it's really difficult to make things.
Uh-oh, froze up again.
Work like that. Like you need to make sure the.
All right. Looks like you're freezing up again, buddy. All right, so it looks like Jeremy's having some technical internet issues on his end, even though he's got 5G. He did mention previously that his entire building.
Internet, man.
There you go. Is it back?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back on.
Wow, this is kind of the worst interview I've ever done. I'm sorry, man.
Well, then we are going to make up for the internet with incredible value for our listeners out in Startup Nation, okay? So continue with that. You said you felt like one big sales pitch.
Yeah.
Machine. And listen, I know people listening, you're listening right now, Startup Nation, and you're getting what Jeremy's saying, because you're in that place right now where you feel like one big sales pitch. You feel inauthentic with people. So Jeremy, continue on that thought.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too because it's like the biggest question you get from people is how's it going? You know what I mean? Like how's everything going? Because and you're always like you want to make it look great because you want them to join you, but it's not going to be great until they join you. So eventually, like the answer, you get very frustrated in it. And for me, it was like a place of anger. Like it's going great. You know what I mean? It's like it's going awesome. So you know what I mean? So it was
I
like
do. I've been there.
eventually, it's just like it's why it burned me out so quick because you have some months where you make money, you have some months where you make no money, and you're trying to keep people engaged and everything else, and I got burnt out as anything. And I just remember staring at my wall in the office I had built in my parents' basement, being like $12,000 in debt at that point in time, being like, Christ, man, how am I going to get out of this? Like, how am I going to do something different? Like, what am I going to do differently? Because this isn't working. And that's actually for me when I started looking for other opportunities. And I realized, number one, if it's going to work, it's going to be me taking full responsibility for what's going on here. So obviously, like the opportunity wasn't great for me. I just wasn't the right person to do that. So I started looking for things that played more to my strengths. And that's when I got into digital marketing and really that space there. But it made me really take a deep look at me and what my strengths were. And I realized like there's some people that are going to be great at doing that. But for me, I felt